We all know that frame is everything. Let's hear what the legendary Roosh had to say about it. We're going live.
We'll do it live.
This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host, Paul Bauer.
Good morning, everybody. It is hump day again. Nurse Chick knows what's up. Hey, what's up, Nurse Chick? Guys, coffee tastes better in these mugs here. Look at this. You can get yours at merch.comeonmanpod.com. I don't talk about it enough. Anyway, we are winging it again today, but these episodes are pretty easy. You know, it's easy content. I go to the Red Pill archive. It's story time with Paul and Roosh, baby. A lot of times I do these types of shows. One, because you guys respond well to these. These actually get a lot of views, but but also because when I'm scheduling out shows, I like to do redirects, which I learned about redirects from Ryan Stone. Ryan Stone is not just this genius red pill guy. That son of a gun, he's so smart. He'll actually tell you about social media and social media marketing. He's really good at reading terms of service. He'll tell you what you can and can't say. He's also really good at Minecraft. F that guy. Okay. All right. That guy is just limitless talent. Okay. Anyway. So as I'm scheduling out these shows, I like to have the next show already scheduled so I can redirect to the next show, right? It just sort of, if you guys ever stay past the credits, which most of you guys probably don't, but if you stay past the credits, it automatically redirects to the next episode, which will be, you know, Wednesday's or Friday's episode this week. And that way you guys are like, oh, okay, this is what's going to be on next. Cool. And then you'll, add it to your notifications. At least that's the theory. So that's what I do. So if I don't know what I'm going to do, if I'm like, oh, I don't have the next episode ready after that. Well, crap. I better go to the well and go to the Red Pill archive and see what's good out there. What's good. And I have done a whole bunch of episodes on things from Royce, right? Because I was reading Heartiste on Game, right? Which was all of Royce's old Chateau Heartiste blog articles, and they were just compiled into a thick book, right? It was like an encyclopedia of games. Crazy. So I was reading through that. It took me like over a year to read it. And well, not quite a year, almost a year to read the darn thing. And so I finally got through that. And as I was going through it, there were occasionally would be one of his blog articles that would, stand out to me. And I'll be like, oh, I'm going to do a show on that. So I've already done a whole bunch on Royce. And so now I'm like, well, what did Roosh have to say? I have a PDF, I think, of one of his books that Thor gave me, but you can't get his books anymore, right? Roosh, he decided he was leaving the manosphere. Like, he really decided he was leaving, and he basically denounced all of this stuff, denounced pickup artistry, became an Orthodox Christian, and he got rid of Return of Kings. He got rid of his original blog, was it rooshv.com or whatever, and he pulled all that stuff off the internet. And well, luckily, some of it was at least the Return of Kings stuff was saved in the Red Pill archive. So we can at least go back to what he wrote for Return of Kings. Okay. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So he wrote an article called "Don't Let a Girl Assert Frame Over You." Okay. So we're going to go through that one. The very next article that it says to click on like right after this one was from another guy named Avery Hayden, who did an article for Return of Kings called "How to Develop a Rock Solid Frame That Women Can't Resist." So first we're going to go through what Roosh talks about, right? Not letting your girl assert frame over you. It's like, okay, cool. Well, how do I develop a rock solid frame? So we're going to get into that. Got it? Okay. And if I haven't mentioned it yet, I talked about Rouge, I talked about Royce. Well, they're one of the original, those guys are the part of the 3 R's of the manosphere, right? The 3 R's of Red Pill. You have Rouge, Royce, and Rollo Tomasi, right? Rollo's like the last guy standing. He's the only guy left still writing stuff. Rollo's writing new stuff on Substack now. He doesn't write on rationalmail.com anymore because, well, he just doesn't get paid for that, but he actually gets paid through subscriptions on Substack. So he's still writing, right? And he's got, 5 books out there. Last I heard, he was working on a 6th book, and it was going to be on just maxims. I don't know where he's at with that, though. I haven't talked to Rollo in quite a while. He's been kind of reclusive lately and busy with like Access Vegas and stuff. So, all right, guys, before we get into all of this stuff, please like, subscribe, hit those notifications if you would. Do sound off in the live. I like interacting with you guys. That's what makes these live streams fun, actually. The pre-records are nice, but I don't really often get a chance to interact with you guys. Not live anyways. Usually I'm in the chat, chatting with you guys in the chat, watching the pre-records, but I'm moving away from a lot of pre-records. I'm not going to be doing so many interviews anymore. I have one interview in the can, which I'll probably be posting maybe next week. I think I'll probably do that. And that's with brother David from Beer Club. So that will be a fun one. And then guys, don't be stingy with those super chats. I already see a couple of super chats in there already. But that helps support the show probably more than anything else. I try to give a lot of, actionable information that you can use, that you can take, put some tools in the toolbox, go actually have healthy relationships, go actually talk to the women, right? But then there's these chicks out here that just show up looking cute and eating sticks of butter, and then dudes send them $500 super chats, right? I'm like, what does a brother have to do to get a $500 super chat? Well, I don't want to know. I'll probably have to shake. We're not at the 8-minute mark. I have to shake that bootay. It is Pride Month. I'd probably have to do something like that, to get some of those Skittles ducats. But I'm not willing to do that. But I'll tell you what, guys, if you send at least a $20 super chat, I do have a really cool video with bouncing chicks with bouncing tatas. Okay. Like I can say that at the 8-minute mark. You know what I found out? My daughter, she's looking for a summer job. She's home from college. She's looking for a summer job, and she decides that she's going to go online. She's going to start looking online for remote jobs. And one of them that she's applying to is a YouTube moderator, where they show up for these live streams, and they make sure that we don't say anything naughty. We can't say anything naughty, guys. So they sit here and they watch the live stream. And if you say anything that goes against terms of service, they shut your stream down. They do that live. They're watching. They're among us. Hey, if you are watching, YouTube moderator, can you at least send a super chat? Okay. That'll be helpful. Let's see. Let's go to the chat. Nurse Chick says, good morning, chat. Happy hump day. Morning, gents and Nurse Chick from CW. Let's see here. Beer Club supporting the show. I think that's what he's trying to say. Beer Club supporting the show. Oh yeah, he does say that with a $2 super chat. Beer Club, we support the show. Yes, I'm going to give him. I'm going to give him one of these. Let's see here. I can't say that one. Let's see here. We'll give him this one because we're not at the 8-minute. Well, you know what? Let's just wait 30 seconds. We'll get back to this one. We'll get back to this one in about 30 seconds. But Nathan also says, get Paul's course, learn how to use Facebook to shop for hot women. That's true. That's what we teach in the no cold approach in the cow pasture course. We have John Smith saying, hey, yo, in Soviet Russia, like smashes you. Guys, likes are free, okay? The more likes these videos get, the more people can watch, okay? Trees here says, finally made it to the stream on relative time. Ha, ha, ha. See, Paul, I told you I would eventually get to the start or close to it, so this counts. All right, that's fair. That's fair. Let's see. Rolo is standing on the hill that man is being a champ standing up against the PC mobs. True. And then he says, get $20 so Paul has a reason to show us wubs. We say wubs. Yeah. And then John says, hey, $500, $500. True. Okay. Now let's get back to Nathan's, right? $2 super chat. Beer Club, we support the show. You know, we had a guy join Beer Club just last night. And he has been following me for a long time. He's been following my advice. He's in a relationship now. I think he said 2 years. He's been with this gal for 2 years now. He's been following the advice and all that stuff's been working. And then he tuned into my episode on She's Not Yours, It's Just Your Turn. And he saw my interaction with all the guys at Beer Club chat. He goes, those guys seem like a cool bunch of dudes. Let me join the Beer Club. So he did. And now he's a part of the club. So, brother Nathan gets this.
I was just going to say it. This guy fucks. Am I right?
Yeah, he definitely fucks. Tim Tillman, $4.99 super chat. Good morning from Oklahoma. I'm going to give him this one here.
Respect the cock and tame the cunt.
Yes, which is exactly what our show is about today. Okay. So, we're talking about frame. We're talking about frame and what Roosh had to say about it. So the first article I'm gonna read to you guys is this one from Roosh. Okay. Now it was originally on the returnofkings.com, but Return of Kings is gone, right? So you can only read this stuff. On the Red Pill Archive. So if you guys are going through the Red Pill Archive like I periodically do, I do recommend donating to them, help support their cause, because a lot of this stuff is going to be gone if these guys weren't there, right? It would already be off the internet. So one of the reasons why Ryan wrote his books, right, Frame and Dread, because he was pulling a lot of information off of the old Reddit forums, like a lot guys' old field reports and stuff like that. And he wanted to save that somewhere. So those are saved for posterity in Ryan's books now. And then we also have the Red Pill Archive. So, and then you have my show where I try to read this stuff to you and keep these ideas out there. Okay. So Roosh says, don't let a girl assert frame over you. Within every interaction is a frame where one person does the evaluating and judging while the other does the satisfying. The person with the higher value will naturally fall into a frame of evaluation, while the person with the lower value will fall into a frame of trying to prove or appease. Without even thinking about it, many men fall into the inferior frame with women by how they allow an interaction to proceed. This is one of the reasons why we talk about not deering in the space, right? Which is defend, excuse, explain, rationalize, right? Comes from No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover. But when, let's say a woman's criticizing you for, I just put out a meme yesterday about not folding the towels right, and the meme was, it's one of those funny memes because all these men know what it's like, right? You don't fold the towel right, and then your wife berates you for not doing it right. And it's like, bro, why are you even folding the towels? That's her job anyway, Why do you think she knows so much about how to properly fold towels? Because that's her job. Okay. So the thing is, when let's say your girl's mad at you about folding the towels right, and you're trying to defend yourself by going, well, I always folded it this way, and I didn't think there was anything wrong with it, right? Now you're trying to explain yourself. That puts her at a higher position, right? Does the king have to explain his actions to his subjects? No. No, he doesn't, right? So you got to think of it along those lines. Why are you defending your actions? Why are you explaining why you're doing what you're doing? You're just putting her at a higher position. You're falling into her frame, you see? Since we were children, we've been taught to answer questions. In school, we received rewards from the teacher if we answered correctly. And even in university, we were graded for class participation based on impressing the professor with how well we knew the material. The problem is that we carry the need to prove ourselves over into adulthood and allow others to assume superiority by answering questions that make us explain our behavior, thoughts, or action, or explain our behavior, thoughts, or actions. Most people are, in fact, too eager to prove themselves when asked a question, but by doing so, they almost always accept the inferior frame. All right. So think about this, okay? Because I mean, if you get into pretty much any interaction with anybody online, they have to be right, right? And so it's one of the easiest ways I found to build engagement is you post something that's somewhat provocative and you just ask clarifying questions. You don't even argue with the person. And they have to explain themselves to try to prove their point, right? They're explaining, they're defending their position. They're all this stuff. They're dearing to me, right? Well, they're falling into my frame. when that's happening, it's also boosting my engagement, right? It's also boosting me in the algorithm, which is a good thing to do, right? So if you constantly find yourself explaining why you're doing everything and defending why you're doing everything, just know that you're putting that other person at a higher level than you. Okay. Because if you were really higher value, you wouldn't have to explain yourself to anybody. You see what I'm saying? So, for example, a common question that a woman asks you is, what do you do? Right? Guys in the chat, guys at Beer Club, guys that have been following the podcast for a long time. When a woman asks you, what do you do for a living? What do you tell them? What do you tell them? Drop it in the chat. By quickly answering her question, you automatically accept her prove yourself to me frame. This is why my game book, Bang, which you can't find anymore. This is why my game book, Bang, teaches you to not answer directly to a woman's question in the early periods of the interaction when you're trying to establish attraction. The better response is to give a joke answer that shows you do not care of her evaluation. Paradoxically, this increases her attraction for you even more because your value must be higher than hers if you refuse to do what so many men before you had eagerly done. Nathan's got it right here. I fight crime as a bat. That's right. Batman game, baby. If anybody wants to know more about Batman game, I did a whole episode. I've done several episodes on Batman game, actually. But that came from my 3% brother, Jacob, who he's been on the podcast before. And we talk about Batman game. He's the one that came up with that. And almost all of us in the 3% brotherhood started using that. And it works like a charm. I like John's answer. This is a good one. He's a Mossad agent. Do you think, I hate to say this, but do you think most women know what a Mossad agent is? Like, if you asked a chick, hey, do you know what a Mossad, like, do they even know what the Mossad is? No, because women don't watch spy movies. Like, come on. Treesair says, you say, ask your mom. Say hi to your mom for me. Anyway. Another example is when a coworker and not your boss asks you, why did you do it this way? So he's talking about a coworker, not your boss. Your colleague asks you, why did you do it this way? He's attempting to assert the superior frame by getting you to justify yourself. An answer which refuses his frame is one where you don't explain why you did it in your preferred way, unless he asks you how you did something, which establishes him as the inferior seeking to learn from you. You should not rationalize yourself. You'll also encounter coworkers who ask tiny favors of you that escalate over time. That's an interesting one. I never thought about that one before. Because typically when I'm dealing with coworkers and they ask, well, why'd you do it this way? I never thought about it as you're basically deering, but I guess that makes sense. How do you feel when you have sex with a woman for the first time and are not satisfied with your performance? Because you feel inferior in that moment, you may say something like, it'll be longer next time, or I shouldn't have drank so much. This establishes you as the person who is supposed to do the pleasing. The woman is then more likely to see you as a weak man. A man who is confident of his worth would not be fazed by a bad sexual performance, or at least not feel the need to defend it. That actually it sort of goes hand in hand with what I'm planning to talk about on Friday, because I'm listening to Nancy Friday's book, My Secret Garden, which guys, it is a filthy, dirty book. That is a disgusting book. And I'm not talking like in a good way. It is so bad in places, right? And basically what Nancy Friday did, we'll get into it Friday, is she compiled, letters and recorded interviews from women all over the country, anonymously, and asked them to share their sexual fantasies. And because those women were anonymous, they were honest as hell. And some of it's downright gross. We're talking dog pill, guys, the dog pill gross. Okay. But one of the things that there's a very common thread in a majority of the fantasies so far is that these women don't care about a guy trying to please her. They get turned on. They are getting turned on by a guy who's just so like overcome by his I guess, his attraction to her, or how horny she makes him, that he just takes her, right? He just does whatever. And these chicks, that's what their fantasy is. So it's like they don't care that they're not turned on by a guy who's trying to actively please them in bed, right? It's like he's doing whatever he wants because he likes doing it, is what they like. That's what turns on a majority of these women. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about Friday. It turns out that trying to justify yourself in a way is the best way to lose frame, and should only be done when the other person has repeatedly asserted the inferior frame. For example, if a woman repeatedly justifies herself in your presence, you can throw her a bone and appease her once in a while, but only if it's what you really want to do, so that she feels a basic level of security in the relationship. Okay. So basically, he's suggesting, like, don't go like full on alpha bro with this, right? Don't go full on alpha bro. You got to give her a little of that beta comfort every once in a while. Before we finish, there's only a couple more paragraphs left, but let's go ahead and say this. Guys, do follow me on social media. The links are in the description. Get on the email list, guys. list.comeonmanpod.com. I'll send you some free stickers. If you guys are Rule Zero fans, I'll send you some Rule Zero stickers with this. If you guys order an autographed copy of my book, which I think I mentioned a couple, like an episode or two ago, but if you get an autographed copy, I said at that time there was only one left of the special edition, and I miscalculated. But now there is. Now there really is only one special edition left. There's only one standard paperback left in stock, which I'm going to replenish the stock of the hardcovers and the standard paperback. But once this special edition goes, it's gone. Okay. So I'll drop a link to that if you guys want an autographed copy. And then there's 4 hardcovers left. And I can understand why, the hardcovers aren't selling as well, but that's just because they're more expensive, but they're really nice. Look at this. I got myself, this is my personal hardcover edition, right? It's a solid book, they did a really good job with it, but the printing cost for the hardcover is just so expensive. That's why it is. But if you want a hardcover, it's cheaper to order the autographed edition than it is to order from Amazon, if you're in the United States anyway. But anyway, that being said, if you order an autographed copy of my book, I also throw in some stickers in there for you. So you don't get that from Amazon. But if you don't want stickers, you don't want the autographed book, that's fine. Just put don't want stickers in the address field, and I won't waste a stamp on you. But you do get a free chapter of my book, right? Everything I wish I knew when I was 18. And you also get 20 dating app openers that are guaranteed to capture a woman's attention in the first 7 words. Okay. And then where are we at here? Speaking of the book, you can get it on Amazon or on Audible. If you go to books.comeonmanpod.com, that'll take you to my Amazon authors page where you can find all the different editions, including the Audible edition. If you guys have a Kindle Unlimited subscription, use your next credit on my book, right? If you guys have an Amazon or an Audible subscription, use your next credit on the book. RP Thor did the narration for me for the audiobook. Let me play a commercial for that. Then we'll finish off this article here. Life is a journey filled with twists and turns. Why is it that essential life lessons aren't taught in school? You probably know that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, but do you know how to invest in a Roth IRA? We're not taught to build ourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. The roadmap to success is more than just a college degree. You don't have to follow the traditional route. Success isn't confined to a classroom. It's about discovering your own path. You ever wish that someone handed you a guidebook to life when you were 18? Well, it's never too late to rewrite your story. Everything I wish I knew when I was 18. Advice for young men to create a great life for themselves. This book is your compass, guiding you to pick the right career, how to invest wisely, and how to prepare for a fulfilling future. To take control of your health and your fitness. Learn how to date efficiently and find genuine desire. And master the art of leading healthy relationships. Your path is defined by the choices you make, not by others' expectations. Don't wait until you're 35 to unlock your potential. Order your copy now on Amazon. Rewrite your story. Build the life you deserve. Man, what is up with StreamYard? It's supposed to send these like every so often. It's like just dumping them all at once, anyway. Let's see. Treesair says weakness in frame is death in the game. Oh, I like that. That's a good that rhymes. That makes it easy to remember. That's an oof kind of relationship death. Your ball sack will be made into her purse. Mike Steele says, I have been struggling to give that occasional beta comfort recently. Yeah, you're not in a long-term relationship though, Mike. Like you're still spinning plates, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. It's really when you get into that long-term relationship that you got to sprinkle a little beta on it, Treesair says, if I had I guess he's saying money for the hardcover, I'd be getting that damn Bidenomics. We can blame it on Biden. We can blame it on Biden. The damn inflation. All right. Who do you guys think is going to win the election in November? I will be surprised either way. I will. Well, actually, no, I'm not going to be surprised. But I'm not going to also tell you what my prediction is. All right, let's see here. So we said you have to throw her a bone. Okay, so it's important to note that natural alpha males are automatically resistant to accepting the inferior frame, Mike. Their instinct tells them not to justify themselves, and they have such a high opinion of who they are that maintaining frame naturally flows from them. If you are not a natural alpha, you'll have to do it manually by stopping and thinking each time a woman asks you a question or a favor. Can you hold my purse? To decide if she's trying to assert frame. If she is, which is usually the case, you must deflect her question, make a joke, or agree and amplify so she comes to the conclusion that you are the superior in the interaction. Otherwise, she will slowly drain your power and either use you for attention or to establish firm control over your behavior, like we see with men who have been henpecked by their wives after several years of marriage. So basically what he's saying too, it's the same thing I say about shit tests. And that's really what shit testing is, right? It's a woman testing your frame. It's a frame check. Who did I have? I had Mark Singh on the podcast. I think that was his name. I think that's the same. He was on the podcast. He likes to refer to shit tests as frame checks. And that's basically what they are, right? So if she's testing your frame by shit testing you, there's tools for that, right? Act indifferent, agree and amplify, amused mastery, that sort of thing. Fogging, right? And he says here, what is it? What is it? You have to sit there and decide if she's asserting frame. If she is, which is usually the case, right? She's usually trying to do it. And a lot of times it's subconscious, right? So I always like to just assume everything's a shit test. Assume everything a woman says or does is a shit test and act accordingly. And then you'll always be fine. You'll always be okay with this. You don't ever have to worry about it. You have to sit there and ask yourself, is this a shit test? Is she shit testing me? Yeah. The answer is yeah. Yeah. Just assume she is, right? If you assume everything's a shit test, you'll do fine. You'll navigate dating and relationships just fine. Mr. Wrong says, watch this new show with Ed O'Neill called Clipped. If you want to see massive, unapologetic masculinity, Donald Sterling could not be moved. It was his world and others are just passing through. Oh, okay. That's interesting. All right. And then finally, Roosh says, you want to reach a point where you have high expectations of a woman, but she has little expectations of you. She must give you submission while you do as you may. That's a weird way of saying that. I don't know how I would write it that way. She must give you submission while you do as you may. This will take some real value to pull off, but in the meanwhile, you can simulate it by merely not falling into the frame of those who make requests and demands of you. Okay. So that was from Roosh. All right. And his basic actual advice there is like, don't dear, right? He didn't specifically say don't dear, but that's basically what he's saying. Don't dear. And that's pretty much it. Don't dear. And then if she shit tests you, make a joke or agree and amplify, right? Don't take anything she says seriously. He said that about, if she asks you what you do for a living, right? All right, guys, join the beer club. Where is it at? Join the beer club, beer.comeonmanpod.com. Our next meetup will be next week on Thursday, the 20th. Okay. But like Brother David says, I keep giving him a shout out for this, but he says, I do not sell the Telegram community enough. He's like, that's where the real value is in the Telegram group, because our meetups are only once a month. Right. It's only like once a month, maybe twice a month. If Brother Omega is feeling froggy and he wants to host. Right. But otherwise it's once a month. But the rest of the time, you basically have 24 access to all the guys at Beer Club, and you can bring like anything in there. Right. Talk about anything for the most part. And, if you're having relationship problems, if you're having problems with frame, if you have questions about your interactions, if you want to post your date updates, if you want someone to hold you accountable for working out and stuff like that, everyone's doing all that kind of stuff in there, right? They're posting their workouts. They're talking about all this kind of stuff. It's also a great place for memes. If you guys see a lot of my memes on social media, a good majority of that comes from guys in the Beer Club. They're just dropping that stuff daily. And I'm like, oh, cool. Thanks, CW. I'll throw that out there. All right, guys. Get in the Beer Club, beer.comeonmanpod.com. There's a link in the description for that. All right, guys. The next article here is written by a guy named Avery Hayden. It's called How to Develop a Rock Solid Frame That Women Can't Resist. I'll drop a link to this in the live chat. It's also in the description if you guys want to read through this yourself, but I'm reading it to you. Just drink some coffee, relax. Okay. Just relax. Mike says, I tell them to set the purse at my feet because it will be safe there. Okay. And then Teresa says, Zen it, she rages, and you maintain frame and pivot the interaction or turn it on her and ditch her. All right. Have you guys seen that the going back to the purse thing? Have you guys ever seen that ad where the guy, the girl gives the guy her purse and he takes it, and as soon as she walks to the store, he drops it on the floor, grabs a like a poop bag and like picks it up and then like wraps it up in a bag and then like holds the bag like it's a normal shopping bag. And then there's like a whole group of guys that are just randomly there drinking scotch and they're like, well done, right? Like even that is acting like a beta little bitch, right? If she says, "Hey, honey, can you hold my purse?" and you're just like, "No." That's all you have to say, right? It's not even that hard. Anyway, they'll learn not to fucking try it after a while, Hey, can you hold my purse? No, take it with you in the fucking dressing room, What would you do if I wasn't here? You wouldn't be handing your purse to anybody. You would take it with you into your dressing room. So fuck off. Fuck off, Whammon. Just kidding. You don't have to say it that way either. That wouldn't go over very well. All right. So how to develop a rock solid frame that women can't resist. In a picture at the top of the article, let me share the screen. Let me just show this this majestic article. Obviously has my man James Bond on it, so it's legit, right? It's legit, okay? Because what would James Bond do? Okay. Starts off with a quote. There is little that can withstand a man who can conquer himself. Louis the 14th. What is a strong frame? In any social interaction, one person is reacting more than the other. One person needs more approval, validation, and acceptance from the other person than vice versa. Whoever is reacting less has the stronger frame. Whoever is reacting less has the stronger frame. Whoever has the stronger frame has more leverage and social power. Okay. Think about that one. All right. Because Ryan's book on frame is glorious, right? It really gets into developing how to really develop yourself into being a strong masculine man that has this sort of mentality naturally. But by itself, if you want to simplify things, right? Whoever is reacting less has the stronger frame. Right. And so if you find yourself in a position where you're reacting, not responding, but reacting, oftentimes you're reacting out of emotion, right? Like if you feel like you have to yell, right? You're just all of a sudden you just like lose your shit and you start yelling, you've lost you have no frame, right? Now you're defending yourself, you're explaining yourself. Like if you have you're reacting, you're reacting out of emotion. Okay. External factors influence this dynamic. Research has found, for example, that subordinates tend to match the vocal patterns of their superiors, but superiors do not match the vocal patterns of their subordinates. Okay. However, ultimately, a truly strong frame doesn't rely on titles or external status. It is something you carry with you wherever you are and with whomever you are interacting with. That's why Ryan says in the book, right? Frame isn't something you do. Frame is who you are, right? Once you develop a strong frame, it just becomes a part of you, okay? A strong frame isn't being nice to make a girl like you. It isn't using lines to appear hard to get to make her chase you. A strong frame isn't trying to seem unreactive so that people react to your strong frame. The last one is especially important. You can't try to have a strong frame. Affirming, I have a strong frame, is really just admitting to yourself that you don't think your frame is strong enough. Pretending you don't care is showing that you care too much. You can't fake a strong frame and you can't force it. It is unconscious. It is emotional. It is a part of who you are. You either have a strong frame or you don't. Now, I will say this, you can fake it till you make it, right? A part of the whole concept of faking it until you make it is building new habits, right? So what he's saying is true to an extent, right? But if you are practicing these things, eventually you start doing them naturally because it becomes habit, right? Okay. Is it pointless to develop a strong frame? He asks. Fuck no. Building a strong frame is one of, if not the most important things you can do. But it's important to know that a weak frame isn't something you can fix simply by reading theory. It's something you can only develop through experience. A strong frame is a personal quality that is earned. I've been saying over the last month or so, I came up with this concept that women are frame weights, right? You go to the gym, you lift weights, you build bigger muscles, right? Well, to build your frame muscles, uh, there is no better way to do that than interacting with women, because women will test your frame like nobody's business, right? So the more you interact with women, the more you actually can strengthen those frame muscles, right? So women are frame weights. Okay. So um, it's only something you could develop through experience. That's why we say, okay, eventually you gotta stop. You gotta put the books down and go out and try some of this shit out, right? You gotta actually go touch grass, right? The difference between a weak frame and a strong frame is the difference between the veteran CEO and the recent college grad who's trying to climb the corporate ladder. The difference between a weak frame and a strong frame is the difference between the hardened soldier who's seen combat time and again and the guy who's fresh out of training. The difference between a weak frame and a strong frame is the difference between the guy who's read 10 pickup books but never goes out and the guy who's been approaching 10 women every single day for months. This is interesting because you actually really do see this in the military, because he talks about a hardened soldier who's seen combat. You don't even have to see combat. You just have to see the bullshit of the military. But you'll see like senior enlisted guys who when like a new fresh out of college officer, right? A butter bar. We called them ensigns in the Navy, right? But a butter bar ensign shows up on the ship like fresh out of college. They don't know shit from Shinola. They think they do because they went to all the classes in college, right? But you've been on the ship for like 3 years now. Like you've seen some shit. And so like when I was an E5, like all the JOs, the junior officers would come to me because they're all working on their surface warfare officer pins. They would always come to me to learn how to do like maneuvering boards and how to read radar screens and all that kind of stuff, because like I'd been doing it so long on the ship, so they'd always come up to me and I always just, treated them. I didn't treat them like any different than anybody else because I didn't give a fuck. Right. You get to that point once you've been in for a while. There's still some, things that you sort of have to do ceremonially, but even then, like you can just see it. You can see it in the old salty bastards versus the guys who are just coming out of college, and then like if you see a senior chief or like a warrant officer, like those guys are just salty as fuck. You know what I mean? Like they definitely seen some shit, but you'll find that those guys are very much like blue pilled alpha guys a lot of the time, because they'll be really good. They'll be really good managing men and being leaders of men, but in their own relationships, like they're all like that. There was a fucking I think he might have even been a senior chief. I can't remember. He was going through a divorce. He was living on the ship. That's something you just didn't see. Like all the chiefs had houses out in town, but this one chief, his wife took him for everything, and he was living on the fucking ship. And I'm like, Jesus fuck. But you see that kind of stuff a lot in the military. Forged by pain is the next part here. You develop your frame by putting yourself through social pressure, also known as tension or discomfort, again and again and again. Each time you do this, you come out the other side a little bit more grounded, a little bit less reactive, a little bit stronger, right? It's like going to the fucking gym, right? You go out and meet women to get laid, obviously, but instead of focusing on getting laid on any particular night, you focus on taking the actions that will strengthen your frame. It's not about the girl. It's about you and who you are becoming. That's why I when I changed my mindset about dating, and I learned this from Dr. Robert Glover, but I reframed the concept of dating as opposed to trying to go out and like get laid and build a connection, right? You've got to build a connection on the first date. I went into every date, every single date, not just the first date, but I went to every date like it's a science experiment. I'm just gathering data, seeing what works and what doesn't, practicing this shit, practicing my body language, practicing bantering, practicing kino escalation, just practicing all this stuff. Okay. It was all just, let's see if this works or not. Let's see if this works. Right. And then on top of that, I was just seeing if I liked her or not. I looked at it like a chemistry test. A first date was a chemistry test. I wasn't trying to get laid. I was just there to have a good time. If I liked her, I'll take it to another venue. It was like clockwork. I was running a playbook, right? I wasn't trying to necessarily make something happen. I was just checking off boxes. Okay. And all that kind of stuff strengthens your frame. It's muscle memory. It's building muscle memory. And each date you go on, you get better at dating. You get good at it, right? And you'll find that chicks just naturally start liking you more and it becomes easier. And then you're like, oh, this is actually fun. This is actually fun. I'm having fun here. Right. But what happens is most guys have this attachment to outcome. They go onto a date. They're expecting something to happen. They're expecting this girl to become their girlfriend. They're trying to get laid. They're trying to get all this stuff. And then when it doesn't happen, they're fucking crushed. They have to go back to the drawing board. Right. No, don't do that. Right. Set up multiple dates per week. That way, if one or two chicks cancels, it's okay. You still have another date set up, right? And then otherwise have like a routine that you go do and have things to do. I talk about all this kind of stuff in my course. Okay. The mindset. Well, I don't talk about on the date in the course. I talk about how to like close for dates in the course, just FYI. I'll probably have a micro course on how to act on a first date. Which reminds me, this weekend, Nurse Chick. Remember, we're filming for the basic diet and fitness thing this weekend. Okay, this mindset has many advantages. First, going out to get laid can be needy. It's about getting something external. This way of thinking is often reflective of a weak frame. Instead, going out to build your frame isn't about taking something. It's about expressing your masculine energy and becoming a better man. Second, when you go out to strengthen your frame, you're going to get better results with women, both short-term and long-term, right? Because you don't have an attachment to outcome, right? You're just going out. It's just like going to the gym. You don't have an attachment to outcome when going to the gym. You don't expect to be fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger after one trip to the gym. Right? You know, it's a process. So if you go out with that mentality, like, hey, I'm just going to lift some frame weights today. Right? That's one way of looking at it. Right? I'm just going out to lift some frame weights. And fuck, you don't even have to have a date to do that. You could just go to the bar and talk to random people to lift some frame weights. You develop your frame by straining it, testing it, challenging it. Your frame is a psychological muscle, and to build it up, you have to break it down by putting it under pressure. This means that when you go out with the intention of developing your frame, you're going to make very different actions. You're going to take very different actions than you would otherwise. To strengthen your frame, the right action is the action that challenges you and makes you experience a certain level of self-doubt. All right. If your frame is weak enough, if your frame is weak enough that you eject from interactions as soon as a woman indicates a slight hint of disinterest, a lot of guys do this, then your mission is to stay in your interaction and to withstand that discomfort as long as possible. Not because it will help you fuck that particular girl, but because it will make you a stronger person. To be fair, sometimes it does help you to fuck that particular girl too. I would say to this, yes and no. Sometimes you're just wasting your fucking time though, right? Like if you go up and you do level 1 and 2 testing, right? Which is you walk up, you strike up a conversation, that conversation starts flowing naturally. And then a chick subtly brings up that she has a boyfriend or a husband in the middle of that. And that's her way of subtly telling you that she's not available, you know? So moving to a level 3 test is pointless at that point. So at that point, like seeing yourself away from the conversation is I think is better. But this guy is saying, just stay in that conversation and make it awkward. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. But what I will say is that what will test your frame is by doing the level 3 testing. So if you are talking to her and she hasn't mentioned a boyfriend or a husband or anything like that within, 8 minutes, go to level 3 testing, ask for her number, right? That is going to break you out of your comfort zone. And that's where most guys stop, right? They stop the interaction before they get to that point because they're afraid of rejection. They have that rejection anxiety, right? And so if you just push through that and ask for that, that's going to challenge your frame a lot. Okay. But the more you do it, the more you'll realize it doesn't hurt. Even if she says, "Oh, I don't give out my number," or whatever, it doesn't matter. So I would say at least do level 3, get to level 3 testing. Paul, what are the 3 levels of testing I talk about in my book? Okay. If you have trouble opening girls who are in big groups or are with guys, the proper action is to approach those sets because your fear is a reflection of a crack in your frame. Your frame is weak wherever there is fear. And by internally leaning into situations that trigger your fear, you will conquer the weakness in your frame. Dr. Glover talks about this in Dating Essentials for Men, as he does talk about leaning into fear too, but more so, it's more about pushing past your self-limiting beliefs, right? But a lot of our self-limiting beliefs come from a fear of rejection, right? So you got to lean into it. Lean into discomfort a little bit. The exact implications of this approach to game are determined by your level of experience. At a beginner level, you might strengthen your frame by going out every day instead of just watching videos of other guys picking up girls. If you're an intermediate, you can develop your frame by trying to close every girl you talk to. You might try to pull every girl you meet, or you might try to get every girl's number, even when a girl clearly isn't that into you. If you're legitimately advanced, you might develop your frame by approaching and trying to pull every single 9 and 10 that you see while you're out. This is a good exercise to do to get over this stuff and to exercise your frame, is to go out and try to get a certain number of rejections every night, right? Go out, try to get rejected 10 times or 5 times or whatever you want to put some training wheels on. Maybe just try to get rejected 3 times, right? Whatever your goal is. If your goal is rejection, then when a chick actually does reject you, it doesn't hurt because that's what your goal was, right? You're like, "Oh, I got one. I got a rejection," right? Let's see here. Tree Sarah says, "Women be fickle and the gym is always there. Keep in the zone. Make it where it's just you and the iron. 100% focused to be 100% focused to be zoned in Zen. The secret to keep that dialed in and make her get dread. Fire be the vibe." And then Chris here from Facebook says Giovanni Melgar. I don't know what that is. Who's Giovanni Melgar? All right. The paradox of outcome focus. The irony here is that when you go out and your main agenda is to pull a girl, you are actually much less likely to pull than if you go out to strengthen your frame. This is because when you go out with an agenda to pull a girl, it's hard not to go on defense. When you're talking to a girl that you've decided, let's see here. When you're talking to a girl that you've decided you should pull, it's easy to hold back and play it safe. For example, you might not say things that are polarizing. You might avoid physicality, or you might hesitate to lead because those actions risk losing. Taking risks might fuck up your opportunity with that particular girl. Going on defense is one of the worst things you can do when it comes to picking up girls. Girls want a guy who's on offense, not being offensive necessarily, but who's on offense. They want the guy who does take risks, the guy who does try to pull her, the guy who asserts himself unapologetically as a man. It just so happens that the actions that put you on offense are the same actions you must take to strengthen your frame. Basically, he's saying you got to go out there and be bold, right? And women respond to boldness and confidence, and oftentimes boldness by itself is seen as confidence. But women respond to boldness and confidence the same way we respond to a great pair of tits. They're hardwired for it. They can't attraction's not a choice, right? They can't help themselves. So even if they're unavailable to go on a date with you, the fact that you were bold, that you unapologetically went for what you wanted, that will cause her to get butterflies and think about it all day. Okay. Common sense. Confucius say, don't be an idiot. There's an important nuance here that some guys misunderstand. There's a lot of nuance in this space, and especially guys who are, and this isn't a critique or anything, it's just they can't help it, but a lot of guys who find their way to the space are on the spectrum. And because of that, they oftentimes think black and white. It's hard for them to understand the nuance, right? It's just how their brains are wired. It's not, it's not insult. It's just how it is. It's unfortunate. So that's really a challenge that they have to overcome. And I think there's ways for them to do that, right? But there's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of nuance in the red pill space. Everything seems black and white, but it's not. It's just like everyone's different. Everyone's different. That's why it's not all women. But at the same time, yeah, it is. Yeah, I try to get into the habit of saying most women when talking about some of these broad generalizations of women. But still, when you say the most women or whatever, you'll still get the solipsistic women that want to argue with you. Oh, I'm not like that. Well, all right, fine. You are. They broke the mold with you, Cindy. I don't know what to tell you. I'm talking about those other bitches. Okay, so there's an important nuance here that some guys misunderstand. Building a strong frame doesn't mean being intentionally uncalibrated in an antagonistic way to show how free from outcome you are. I've seen this. Guys who define having a strong frame as purposely ignoring how a girl feels. If you're scaring girls or making them afraid that you're going to hurt them, they're not going to fall into your frame. This antagonistic approach is a form of trying way too hard, which is actually a symptom of weak frame. It's putting on a tough guy mask to prove how little you care about getting rejected. If every girl you talk to is uncomfortable, you're trying too hard to have a strong frame. Getting rejected on purpose, whether consciously or unconsciously, is not going to strengthen your frame. There's a certain level of common sense and calibration that needs to be taken into consideration there. That kind of reminds me, if you guys ever read Corey Wayne's book, How to Be a 3% Man, right? He talks about being cocky, funny, and being a little bit of a charming James Bond. And what he basically says with that is use the 80-20 rule. You want to be 20% cocky, funny, and you want to be 80% charming James Bond, because if you're 80% cocky, funny, they just think you're a fucking asshole, right? They don't want to, like, if you're just constantly just jabbing at them and making fun of them and teasing them about every fucking little thing they do, like, now you're a dick. Now you're just a dick, right? But if you just do it a little bit, about 20% of the time, they think it's charming and funny and playful, and they like it, right? So there's some balance with some of this shit, right? I mentioned Mark Singh already in the podcast. I was on his show, and we were talking about how you have to sprinkle a little beta on it, right? When you're in a long-term relationship. And he asked me, like, how much, right? How much I think one needs to sprinkle a little beta on it. And I was like, I like to follow the 80-20 rule on pretty much everything. And I'm like, I think you have to be 80% alpha, right? And sprinkle about 20% beta on it, you know? And the reason being is women aren't sexually attracted to beta comfort behavior. They're just not. They're sexually attracted to the alpha dominant masculine presence type stuff, right? Even though if you read Thor's book, A Dominant Masculine Presence, it goes well beyond alpha beta, but you guys get the point. Well, yeah. So I said, yeah, 80-20, 80-20. Mark Singh's like, no, I think it's 50-50. I highly disagree with that. I highly disagree with that. All right. In conclusion, guys, each time you challenge yourself by intentionally facing social pressure and barreling through discomfort, you are taking an important step towards developing a rock solid frame that will make you attractive to most women in an immediate and visceral way. Women can feel a genuinely strong frame. It literally turns them on. Not only will women be more attracted to you when you have a strong frame, but you will also be less likely to self-sabotage your interactions. The stronger your frame, the less you care about rejection, and therefore, the more likely you are to take the risks that will get the girl and the next one. All right. That was a pretty good article. I like what this guy has to say, right? So instead of going out and trying to make something happen, right? Trying to get a girl's number, trying to get a girl in bed or whatever. You go out with the mindset of, I'm just going out to strengthen my frame. And that allows you to have no focus on the outcome. It's just like going to the gym. I like that. That's actually a pretty good concept. I dig it. Jay Will says it's different for each woman. Is it though? There's a lot of these concepts, Jay, that will work on a vast majority of chicks. Trust me. Like if you go out and try this stuff and you start spinning plates and you go on lots of dates, you'll find that a vast majority of chicks respond well to like all this kind of stuff that we're talking about. Oh, Kamal says, I'm guilty myself in the past of overdoing the cocky funny. I check myself now and cut it out when I see myself overdoing it. Yeah, I've done that too. You can tell, like, if you're good at reading, you get good at reading like body language and stuff like that. Cause women often, women are really good about subtext, right? They're really good about the body language stuff. Men suck at it. The book Atomic Attraction talks about it. Like they did a study where they had men and women watching a movie with the sound off, and something like 75% of the women knew exactly what was going on in the movie just by the body language and the interactions with the people. And only like 10, maybe even 20% of the guys knew what the fuck was going on. They're like, I don't know what's going on. They couldn't tell what was going on based on body language. So if you get good at not just running your mouth and trying to think of the next thing to say, you actually take a genuine interest in a chick and listen to her and become a good conversationalist, which I talk about quite often. Which a great book on that is just How to Win Friends and Influence People, you know. But when you do that and you're actually paying attention to her body language, you can tell when you're being a little bit too much of a dick. You know, you can tell that she's not exactly taking it that well. Jay Will says the percentage of 80-20 in an LTR is different for every woman is what I was talking about. Do you think so? But it's like Jay, you got to think about it from this point of view. Okay. From a mental, like you being your own mental point of origin, right? What do you like? What do you want out of the relationship? Most men want a relationship where they're getting regular sex. Like that's the only reason why to even be in a long-term relationship is so they can get that regular sex, right? So you don't have to go out and hunt for it all the time. Some guys like the hunt, right? But some guys are like, you know what? I'd rather just go to the fucking supermarket. Well, if you want regular sex in your relationship, you gotta do the 80-20 with the alpha beta stuff, because that's how you're going to get most of the sex. You got to be able to turn her on sexually so that you get regular sex with it. If you're doing a majority of the beta comfort shit, you're not going to get any of that. So it's like, well, what do you want out of the relationship, I guess, is really what it comes down to. And yeah, it's like, and if a chick isn't having that, she's probably just doesn't have that genuine desire for you anyway. So it's probably best to find a different chick. John says, my goal is always the first two of the the triple F's. He's talking about from my book, the triple F's, right? Facilitate, fun, and fuck. That's your only job. So facilitate fun is your only goal. The third happens, great. If not, I still had fun. Yeah. And that's a good way to look at it too. Because if you're trying to make something happen, it's less likely to happen, which is what this guy was saying, right? The paradox. So, but a lot of times if you're just having fun and things tend to flow naturally, especially if you're not afraid of testing your frame a little bit by let's try kino escalation. Let's try touching her and see how she reacts to it. Right. And I'm not talking sexually. I'm talking lower back, her upper arm, like up by her elbow. If you touch her there or touch her on her shoulder or something like that, if she's not like, ugh, right? So like most chicks won't be like that. Most chicks actually like it. They really like it when you break that touch barrier. And that by itself, man, that gets you places. This person says, if this guy can get laid, trust me, any of you guys game? I guess any of you guys can, is what they're saying. And I don't disagree. If I can do it, anybody can fucking do it. All right. That's all I got, guys. Tune into the podcast Friday. Like I said earlier, we are going to be talking about what we can learn from women's sexual fantasies. I'm about maybe a third of the way through Nancy Friday's book, My Secret Garden, which was written in the 70s. But Nancy Friday, she put out ads all over the country in magazines and newspapers asking women to anonymously send in letters and recorded interviews and stuff like that of their sexual fantasies, and they did it anonymously. So and she realized she had to make it anonymous so that women would be honest about it, because women are super afraid of being fucking judged. Right? And some of these fantasies are just downright fucking disgusting. They're absolutely disgusting, but that's not the point. The point isn't their nasty, dirty fantasies. It's how these women are thinking about it and how they're interacting with it, right? And there's a lot that can be learned from this. So we're going to go through some of those things that can be learned from women's sexual fantasies on Friday. Definitely tune in to that. Let's see here. Guys, do be sure to like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thanks to everybody that sounded off in the live chat. I appreciate it. Thanks to everybody that sent super chats. Nobody sent a $20 super chat, so nobody got the tatas today. Okay, it's not too late. If you send $20, I'll show you guys some titties. But I'm out here shucking and jiving, and meanwhile, chicks out here that are relatively cute and eat sticks of butter get $500 super chats, and I'm just like, hey man, I'm actually giving you some information on how to actually get chicks like that without having to spend $500 on them. Okay. Follow me on social media. The links are in the description. Get on the email list.comeonmanpod.com. I'll send you some free stickers. I got this Rule Zero one for you if you guys are Rule Zero fans. If you guys don't want stickers, just put don't want stickers in the address field. I won't waste a stamp on you, but you do get 20 dating app openers that are guaranteed to capture a woman's attention the first 7 words. And then you also get a free chapter of my book, available on Amazon and on Audible. If you go to books.comeonmanpod.com, you can get that. If you have an Audible subscription, just use your next credit on it. Okay. And then if you guys have a Kindle Unlimited subscription, you can use your credit on that as well. And then finally, guys, join the beer club, beer.comeonmanpod.com. It's a good group of dudes. Our next meetup is going to be on June 20th. It's a virtual meetup. So if you're like, oh, well, I don't know if I can make it because I'm in New York or whatever, you can make it. You can make it. It's at 7 p.m. Eastern time. It's on, we do it on a big group video chat through Telegram. But the the actual value of the group is just the community in the group, and the guys are in there chatting all the time. It's a good place to swap notes. It's a good place to talk about this stuff. It's a good place to write out your own, date updates or field reports. And if you guys need advice about anything, bring it to the boys. Okay. All right. That's all I got. Yeah. $20. People, come on, people. Once you, if you want the boob so bad, why don't you send a $20 super chat? All right. We'll have to do that next time. We'll see you guys on Friday.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. Now, go out and get it.